Hey everyone, the name is Kris Barocsi. Welcome to Gear Corner. Today we're talking about this beast here. This is the Uwe Lulis signature head, which obviously brings that classic German metal and hard rock tone, but on top of that, it's stupidly versatile. There are two reasons for that. First of all, it's nature, the type of amp that this one is, and there are 2 times 3 letters that kind of tell us already a lot. I think you know what I mean. And the second reason is why it's so versatile is that this guy is built in. The classic, one of the coolest drive pedals that people use to boost amps into a tighter, higher gain. This is the Boss OD1 on the original one, and this circuit, this exact circuit, is built in that amp. In case you want to hear Uwe playing this amp and explaining what they were thinking about and how this amp turned out to be the thing that it is, we have a video on the Thomann Guitars and Basses channel where Uwe was our guest and he played it, he explained everything. So make sure to check that video out. Here's a link, and also you'll find a link in the description box if you want to watch that video. And also whilst checking out the description box, you'll find gear links there, timestamps, etc. Yeah, also merchandise in case you want to grab something. So this amp is, first of all, awesome. Second of all, super high quality. This is a hand-wired amp that's made in Germany by Mario, who is a Mr. Tube Workshop, and he's one of those few people left in this world who really love circuitry and pays attention to details and uses high quality components. The price tag shows that. Yes, of course, this is not a beginner's amp. This is for, well, first of all, for professionals like musicians who tour a lot or work in studios a lot, or music lovers, guitar players who don't necessarily play a lot of gigs, but just want something that gives that perfect British tone, and not just one type, but 2, the JTM and the JCM. Here's something that's interesting about the amp. It's a 1-channel amp, but it has 2 voicings, 2 master volumes for rhythm and solo, and has the OD circuit built in, the OD1 circuit built in. And on top of that, it's obviously foot switchable if you want to turn the overdrive on or off, if you want to change between the Master 1 and Master 2 for rhythm and solo playing. And there's an AB box built in with which you can switch between 2 amps. If you want another amp for your clean sound or another type of gain or whatever, you can do that. It's the jack is built in, so you just connect that AB jack with the input of the second amp, and then with the foot switch of the Lulis, you can go between this amp or the other one. Or if you don't want to use another amp, you can use like a big old tuner on the side of the stage and use the AB box to go between the live sound, the Lulis sound, and the tuner, which then mutes this amp. So you don't have to carry like a little Stumbox tuner with you on stage. You can just have your tuner on side, like with a huge display, and just use that. Even though this amp is clearly not made for like clean guitar playing, it does that so damn well. If you turn off the OD and go on the JTM mode, just grab anything with singer coils, or grab like a Les Paul style guitar and just turn back the volume to 9 or something. As soon as you start cranking the preamp, the gain on the amp, you will get into like this AC/DC-esque kind of old school, awesome British drive tone. And what I love about the OD circuit being built in is that because of its nature, it reduces the low end that hits the amp. The preamp of the amp, or the input of the amp. So what it does, it cleans up that classic JTM sort of wooliness, which is awesome, don't get me wrong, but if you want to have something that's a bit more percussive or tight, then this OD circuit is the perfect tool for that. So you don't even have to crank the OD knob on the amp too much. If you just turn it on and just leave it somewhat at a mild setting, you already have that cleaner sort of modded or tweaked JTM tone that is just perfect for blues, for classic rock, for anything like 70s stuff and everything. And then if you switch over to the JCM mode, you have an additional clipping stage, and you have that JCM 800 style, awesome sort of presency kind of British drive tone, which is fantastic. I mean, I don't have to explain that to anyone, I think. And then obviously the high gain aspect of this amp, which is so cool. It's just that classic metal and hard rock sound. You go on the JCM setting, you turn on the deep and the bright, engage the OD, crank the channels and the preamp and everything, and you have that tone. And what's really cool about the mid-range is, that's what Uwe also mentioned, that they tweaked it to give the amp that sort of lower mid-range, that punch, which is so well known for his early guitar tone, and it brings that immediately. As soon as you crank the mids a bit, you're right there. And if you do the opposite and scoop the mids a little bit, you immediately have that very mean, old school sort of Nordic guitar tone that is just awesome, paired with like a low tuned guitar, and that's a different animal. My thoughts on the Tube Workshop Lulis. It's a special one, this one for sure. What is really interesting about it is that it's just a one-channel amp, so it's not going to be the kind of Swiss Army knife amp that you take on a show, like a cover, you know, top 40 show, where you foot switch everything from clean to high gain without having any pedals there. It's much more made for people who want a certain sound or one or two certain type of sounds, and you can work it perfectly for that. Like, you go on the JTM mode, you have your cleanish kind of tone, and engage the OD in the amp for your crunchy tone. It's already like a 2-channel amp. Or you do the same thing with the JCM mode, just go for like a lower gain rhythm sound, and then you engage the OD and even the master 2, and you have your much louder, much more saturated lead tone. It is really almost like a 2-channel amp with 2 masters, but also on top of that, it has the AB box, so you can put like a beautiful, I don't know, deluxe reverb or something, like a super clean amp on top of it, and then it's like almost like a 3-channel amp, because you have the AB box for the other amp for clean, and then you have 2 gain stages on this on the Lulis, plus the 2 master settings. So it does give you a lot, even though it's just a 1-channel amp, as told. And to be honest, I would not compare the Lulis with anything else current, like current amps. If anything, then I would compare this with like an old original JCM 800 plus an old original Boss OD1, which, if you want to hunt those down on the internet, you'll pay a lot of money, and you'll probably get some, you know, funky gear, stuff that might not necessarily be original anymore, or just don't always work properly. And if you have one of those JCM 800s, you have to crank that if you want to make it sound full, and you want it to give you all of its gain. With this, thanks to this Wonder volume on the master knobs, you don't have to crank this at all. You can literally go down to almost normal room volumes, and you get the same kind of tone as if it was cranked fully. So it is like a tweaked, sort of perfected old JCM plus an old Boss OD1, which is, I haven't seen anything like that ever before. That's really, really cool. All right, let me know what you think about the amp in the comments below, and see you next week in a new video. Bye-bye.